Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pat Baldwin coming to you live from the Basketball IQ podcast. We have a great show in order for you and in store for you today. We're going to talk about the NBA Eastern Conference and Western Conference Finals. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the Eastern Conference Finals with a game that just concluded between the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knickerbockers. But stay right here. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show, the Basketball IQ podcast. Again, I'm your host, Pat Baldwin. Terrific show today. As we started and talked about at the very beginning, this was going to be a great show to talk about what just happened this evening between the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. Indiana up 1-0. They went back into MSG. They said, you know what? We're staying right here in the boogie down in New York, Broadway. We're picking up another win. New York held serve for a little bit, but then Indiana Pacers came back and built a tremendous lead late in the fourth quarter. It's really going to be hard for New York to try to get out of this hole when they're trying to put everything that they're trying to do into one game. And, I'll say that the biggest thing was losing that game one, having the lead, being up, I think, 14 to 17 points at one point, and then having the Indiana Pacers walk you down to the point where they beat you in overtime. And then in this game, Indiana Pacers seemed like they were in control the entire time. So this was tough because when New York was trying to make its run, what do? Indiana makes a couple shots. Then you have they put in a small lineup. Karl Anthony Towns, when they put you in pick and roll, it seems to put you out of position defensively, and now you have to rotate and recover. And then they're hitting threes and they're spraying. They're making pull-ups. McConnell is doing this thing when he comes in off the bench, and everybody seems to be taking advantage of Karl Anthony Towns. And then what Tom Thibodeau does as a strategy, he brings in Mitchell Robinson. And yeah, on the defensive end, that's a great strategy. He can guard multiple positions. He can switch on pick and rolls. So then it's not an issue. Now, if you don't get a defensive stop, and now you're taking the ball out, you're walking the ball up the floor, guess what the Indiana Pacers are doing? They're hacking Mitchell, hacking Robinson. And then Robinson, I don't know what his stats are, but they're not very good right now throughout the series. But tonight, when they went to the hacker Robinson, he was, and I'm looking up right here, he was 2 for 4 from the free throw line. Didn't hurt him as much this game, but down the stretch, they were down 9. They needed those 2 free throws. They needed those 2 points in order to make a difference in the game. But the Indiana Pacers are doing a great job. Pascal Siakam, when you look at what he did tonight, and everybody seems to pick up their game at different points of the series. Pascal Siakam, 15 for 23 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, 6 for 8 from the line for a career playoff high of 39 points. And he hurts you. And then when you put all of your focus on him, and certainly we know what happened in the first game when Nesmith late in the game, he hit 6 threes in the fourth quarter, and nobody in ever has done anything like that with the amount of points that he scored in the fourth quarter. It seems like the New York Knicks, there's nothing that they can do in order to stop the Pacers at this time, because they have so many weapons. They have guys that can hurt you, so many guys that maybe you've not even heard of. Some buddies of mine, they call me, they text me, and they say, you know what? I don't even know who this guy is, or this guy's not an all-star. This guy didn't make the Olympic team, all of that. Yeah, they didn't. But right now they're playing as a team, and they're doing an unbelievable job led by Tyrese Halliburton. And if you go back and you remember the shot that he hit to put the game in overtime, he probably should have won the game if he had his toes clipped, toenails clipped. And he made that miraculous shot, and then they took over in overtime in game one. And then in this game, Pascal Siakam really took over and did a great job from start to finish. You think, again, we talk about Nesmith and what he's doing, or what he did in game one to kind of salvage that game. And, he's a high intense high energy type of player. He can make threes. I think at one point he was 50% from three. Tonight, Neesmith went 2 for 3, so, for 12 points. So he's doing what he's supposed to do. Number one, he's making shots, which he did in the fourth quarter. And then in this game as well, he's made shots. The other side of that, when he gets to the other side of the floor, man, he is defending. He is really defending and putting a lot of pressure on Jalen Brunson, making him work the entire 94 feet. And then you have to almost say that this is working into Brunson's legs, and he's not getting an opportunity to rest it all. I think Bridges and Hart and whoever's guarding those guys, they're going to have to take up some of that slack. But Brunson's been doing this all year. He's been bringing the ball up the floor. It's almost a one-man show with him. If he's not going, then who else gets going on their own? And if you think about it, tonight, OG Anunoby, 6 for 11, 16 points. Josh Hart, 6 points. Cat, 20. Mikal, 20. Brunson had 36. So you would think, man, all these guys are scoring for New York. They should be in the game, which they were. They had a chance late in the game. They missed a 3, and then they had a foul, and then Indiana went up 5 after that. So this is a downhill type of situation for the Indiana Pacers, and it's an uphill climb for the New York Knicks. So we'll be back after this, and we're going to talk about the series in the Western Conference Final between OKC Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So this is going to be a great opportunity for both teams to set the tone on how this thing is going to be in the Western Conference Finals. And we're going to be right back after we get to some of this lunacy. I got 5 on it, but also this is the Basketball IQ podcast. Don't leave. Let's go back a day. The Western Conference Finals featured Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the NBA MVP 2024-25 season. Led the charge for the OKC Thunder to knock off the Timberwolves in Game 2. What a great opportunity that Minnesota had in front of them in Game 2 to try to even up the series. But Shai, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, all those guys said, nah, chill with the dog. We're winning this game. We're going to your building up 2-0 with a chance to go 3-0 against you. So this is a hard hill and tough hill to climb for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And OKC, it just looks like they just have complete control over this series. Doesn't seem like there's anything that the Timberwolves can do. And Edwards had 32, just like Shaq and Kenny and those other guys say they need the others. And when you start looking at it, yeah, they do need the others. They need Mike Conley to chip in with 12 points. They need Gobert to get 10 points and double-digit rebounds and 4 or 5 blocks in the game in order to take advantage of the OKC Thunder. But OKC is just one tough team on the defensive end. They have guys like Shai. They have obviously Shai. They have Jalen Williams. They have Chet. All those guys are really stepping it up in the Eastern Conference Finals. You would say that, man, they're young. They shouldn't be able to do this. But somebody made a great point. I think it was Brian Scalabrine. They said, listen, that Denver series helped them grow up a little bit. And they went through some of this last year as well. So this is a great opportunity for the OKC Thunder. They're taking full advantage of it. They're 2 games away from going to the NBA Finals. So now the pressure is going to be on them to close this out, or at least get Game 3 and put even more pressure on the Timberwolves. Now, what the Timberwolves need to do, they just need to get one. Just get one win, and then that puts the pressure right back onto OKC and see how they handle it in Game 4 when it's 2-1 and OKC seemingly has to win that game. Welcome back to the final quarter of the Basketball IQ podcast. We've had a great show so far. I'm doing this solo. I can't wait till my partners get on this podcast with me, but that's no problem at all. The thing that we talk about as as players, it takes more than one to contribute. It takes more than one to win. So I need my guys on my podcast with me. But at this time, we're just going to close. We're going to talk about, what it's going to look like for both teams, the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers, as they set for game 3. The Timberwolves, they play tomorrow against OKC in a very pivotal game 3. This makes the series. They always say, is this one of the biggest games that you play? Absolutely, because it's the next game. So the Wolves, they have to come out with great energy. I think they'll have that on their home court. And Shaq and those guys, they always talk about the others. Kenny, they always talk about the other guys that need to step up. So, yeah, Anthony Edwards, you probably expect him to be in the 30s in the next game. OKC is going to try to do whatever they can to make life difficult for him. But you're going to need Conley to chip in with 12 at least, make some threes. You're going to need McDaniel to make some threes and get to the basket, maybe get some easy baskets by getting some steals or some blocks on the defensive end and getting out in transition. We saw in game 1 where OKC did not allow a single transition basket by the Timberwolves. So that's going to be something that the Wolves are going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to push the pressure or push the tempo. They're going to have to try to create some easy baskets, get to the foul line to make life a little bit easier. And again, we go back to the others. Other than Ant, they're going to need the contribution from so many other guys in order to get this thing done. And if you're looking at OKC, they got to continue to do the same. They got to play the stifling defense that they've been doing. Jalen Williams has been doing a great job. Even Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has done a great job in defending and getting steals and being active. Lou Dort, he's on the all-defensive team this year in the NBA, and he continues to frustrate whoever he's guarding because he's so physical. The other side of that's giving the Wolves a lot of trouble and making them think about not just playing the game is everybody's complaining about Lou Dort flopping, especially on the defensive end. We know the story about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the offensive end and how often he gets to the free throw line. So that's going to be an issue that the Wolves have to contend with. But the others have to step up. Ant has to be in the 40s, in my opinion, in this game coming up. And then you're going to need those guys to make shots. And then on the defensive end, what are the Wolves going to do in order to try to negate what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander does? On one side, you may think, all right, let Shai get his, but don't let Jalen, don't let Chet, don't let these other guys, beat you as well and get into the 20s like Jalen was. And that's what it's going to be like. It's going to be a situation where you're going to have or need those guys, in my opinion, to have an off night in order for the Wolves to win. It's an uphill battle, and they have to get this one done if they want to extend this series and get to the game 4 and put some game pressure back on OKC. And then on the other end, this is an even much more difficult climb, is for the New York Knicks to go into Indiana and try to get a win on the road. They're down 2-0. Game 3 is very pivotal. It's the most important game because it is the next game and because they're down 2-0. They can't go down 3-0 in this series and think that they'll have a chance to win. Now, what the Indiana Pacers have to continue to do, it's same thing what we talked about with OKC. They have to continue to defend. I think they have the blueprint on how you defend the New York Knicks. You pick them up full, you put a lot of pressure on Jalen Brunson, and they can use, because of their guard play, they can use as much energy and all the bodies that they can on Jalen Brunson as they want. Nembhard takes his turn guarding Jalen Brunson. Obviously, Nesmith, he starts out on Brunson and really picking up. Like I said, he's a high energy, high motor guy. Defensively, is extremely active, long arms. He's big. He's about 6'5", 6'6". So that's something that Jalen has to contend with. And then on with the other guys, they're doing a great job. Like I said, McConnell comes in, and about his propensity to get steals and create havoc and all of that. So this is really good job. This is a really good job that Carlisle is doing by infiltrating everybody and putting everybody on Brunson that can not just give him problems, but just be a pest and make him work for everything that he gets. So again, pivotal game 3, they need to get this, and this is really important. What do the Pacers need to do? Again, stifling defense on the offensive end. Put Karl Anthony Towns in pick and roll. Make him have to defend. Make the New York Knicks have to think about their ball screen coverage and what are they going to do. Because I think once that happens, if they start taking advantage of Cat again, I don't know if we're going to see Cat that much, especially in the second half. Yeah, in the first, they're going to do whatever they need to do in order to get Towns his touches, and they need his offense for sure. But it's going to be extremely difficult, especially in the second half. It's if Indiana Pacers, if they're leading, it's going to be tough to have Karl Anthony Towns on the floor. And then there goes your offensive threat from the center position. And then when they bring in Robinson, it becomes a Hacker Robinson, and that ultimately hurts you. So some way, somehow, the Knicks need to probably build up another 15 to 20 point lead and hold on for dear life. That's our show, the Basketball IQ Podcast. I am your host. Appreciate you checking this out. Talking basketball, talking NBA, talking Western Conference, Eastern Conference Finals. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.